You ever heard the sound a city makes the exact second it realizes it's been beaten by its own loophole? It's not a crash. It's not a sigh. It's the sound of a middle-aged code enforcement officer named Janice, standing on Elm Street, absolutely unraveling into her clipboard, while 40 Greyhound legs click-clack down the pavement behind me like some bizarre parade nobody approved. That's the sound. Once you hear it, it sticks with you. Look, nobody grows up dreaming of becoming the neighborhood's dog-walking warlord. That's not something you scribble on a life goals list between buy milk and call mom. I didn't wake up that morning thinking, today I dominate the southbound lane of suburban Philadelphia. All I wanted was to avoid a $500 fine. But if the city insists on playing hardball with the rulebook, they really ought to double-check who they're dealing with, especially if that person owns a thesaurus, harbors a streak of pettiness, and has access to welding equipment. Like most great American catastrophes, this one began with paperwork. Mine arrived on a Tuesday, flapping in my mailbox on a bright pink slip, $500. The violation? Failure to restrain a dangerous animal. I'm standing there holding the ticket, like it might lunge at me. Then I looked down at the so-called menace to society. Barnaby, my pug. Calling Barnaby a dog is generous. He's more of a sentient russet potato with legs. At that exact moment, he sprawled on his side in a patch of sun, tongue hanging out, snoring like an accordion with a leak. If you put him next to a ham sandwich, you'd have to check carefully to see which one had a heartbeat. Barnaby doesn't chase. He doesn't guard. His only survival tactic is looking so profoundly pathetic that even a hungry coyote would feel guilty. And yet, here I am with a citation. I'm not even talking to Barnaby. I'm talking to Janice, who's planted at the end of my driveway in sunglasses large enough to survive a nuclear winter. Every neighborhood has a Janice. Even without an HOA, she appoints herself sheriff. Bay sedan that smells faintly of stale coffee and disappointment. Neon yellow vest, not for safety, but for psychological warfare. That morning, she clearly decided I was public enemy number one. The law is the law, David, she says, not even making eye contact. She's tapping furiously on her iPad like she's hoping it'll self-destruct. Ordinance 42, Section B. All canines must be physically tethered with a lead no longer than 6 feet on public byways. No exceptions. I try to stay calm. Janice, he's asleep. He hasn't moved in an hour, and that was gravity's fault. She cuts me off, stabbing a finger at the pavement. He was on the sidewalk. That is city property. That is a public byway. You were gardening. You were not holding the leash. Sure, the leash handle was sitting on the grass 2 feet from me. No, it wasn't clipped to Barnaby's collar, but the distance between us was maybe 4 feet. What exactly was he planning? A high-speed escape? The most dangerous scenario involving Barnaby is him tripping someone on rollerblades. Was it attached? She asks finally, lifting her sunglasses just enough to reveal eyes as warm as an IRS audit. He's a pug, Janice. He has asthma. He can't outrun a Roomba. Who's in danger here? The pavement. But she's gone full municipal robot, chanting city code like scripture. If a child rode by and startled the animal, it could lunge. It could bite. Failure to restrain. $500. You may appeal, but I wouldn't. I have timestamp photos. I feel the heat climbing up my neck. Yes, it's about the money. $500 for something that never happened. But it's also the smugness. The way she looks at Barnaby like he's a ticking explosive. A pug. So I lower my voice. Let me clarify. The problem isn't the dog. It's the tether. The problem, she snaps, tearing the pink slip free and pressing it into my hand, is the law. Physically tethered. 6 foot maximum. Public byway. Have a nice day. And off she marches in her orthopedic shoes toward that bay sedan, probably jot a note in a binder titled, People I Ruined This Week. I stand there a long time. Barnaby snores again, sounding like someone slowly unzipping a jacket. I look down at the citation. Read it twice. The text is microscopic, dense, aggressively boring. Any domestic canine entering a public right-of-way, sidewalk, or street must be secured by a non-retractable lead or leash held by a human handler. Said lead shall not exceed 6 feet in length. I pull out my phone and dive into municipal code. Parking, noise, hedge height, section 42, subsections, addendums, paragraphs about leash material, human handler definitions, muzzles for biting dogs. And then I notice something. There's absolutely no mention of a maximum number. No limit to how many dogs one human may walk at a time. Not a single word. I sit down on my front steps, dirt smear my jeans, and feel that slow, icy grin spread across my face. The Grinch before Christmas grin. The auditor who found a mistake in your favor grin. If Janice wants compliance, I will deliver compliance. Barnaby. I say, nudging the potato gently, how would you feel about some siblings? He grunts without opening his eyes. I take that as consent. The next morning, I call on a personal day. First stop, Home Depot, not the shelter. If I'm doing this, I'm committing fully. I need hardware. I'm standing in the aisle staring at carabiners, calculating load distribution in my head, when a voice rumbles behind me. You look like you're either building a swing set or planning a felony. I turn. Big Tony, the guy who remodeled my kitchen years ago, built like a vending machine wearing flannel, communicates mostly in grunts and half-remembered union bylaws. Tony, I say, I need a rig, not drywall, a harness system. Aluminum spreader bar, 10 feet wide. Attachment points every 18 inches. Needs to be center pull. One human. He squints at me. You plowing a field, Dave? Or auditioning for Cirque du Soleil? Neither. Malicious compliance. I explain everything. Barnaby, Janice, the ticket, the sidewalk tyranny. The second I mention Janice from code enforcement, Tony spits on the concrete. She fined me last month. Dumpster was 3 inches too close to the curb. $200. Half a day in court. He looks at the carabiners. Looks at me again. Aluminum tubing. Aircraft grade. Schedule 40's too heavy. We weld a spine. Handlebars. Waist belt like a hiking pack. If they pull, you don't want your shoulder popping out. He pauses. How many dogs? I inhale slowly. 10. Tony lets out a low whistle. 10 dogs. Huh. All right. Be at my shop at 2. Bring cash. And bring that ordinance. I want to engrave the section number on the bar. Step 2. The Greyhound rescue. I did my research. Greyhounds are ideal. Tall, calm, and after years on the track, mostly interested in couches and naps. The local racing track had just shut down, so there were plenty looking for homes. And if I was going to comply with the leash law, I was going to comply spectacularly. At the rescue center, I step up to the front desk. Sarah, the manager, looks like she hasn't slept in a week. She's wearing enough dog hair to assemble a backup canine. Hi, I say. I'm here to adopt. Her face lights up. Oh, wonderful. Do you have a specific dog in mind? Nope. I'll take 10. Pause. 10. I repeat, leash trained. Good with other dogs. Similar height if possible. She just stares at me. Sir, we don't bulk sell dogs like they're paper towels. These are living animals. I'm aware. I say quickly, sliding my phone across the desk with photos of my fenced yard, heated garage, and square footage that would make a real estate agent blush. Plenty of space. I work from home, and I have a very specific need to outmaneuver a municipal ordinance. That gets her attention. I explain the entire situation. I brace for security to escort me out. Instead, her eyes narrow. Is this about zoning? She asks. It's about Ordinance 42B. Her expression shifts. They fined us last week. Excessive barking during feeding time. It's a kennel. Dogs bark. She leans closer. You promise these dogs will be legal? They will be the most walked, most visible, most by-the-book animals in the county. And yes, Janice will absolutely lose her mind. A slow smile spreads across her face. Follow me. She leads me to the back. I've got just a group. Came in from Wheeling. Tight-knit. Move like a school of fish. The drive home is an experience. If you never piloted a minivan containing 10 Greyhounds, imagine steering a vehicle constructed entirely of elbows, long snouts, and existential sorrow. Every stoplight produces a tidal wave of brindle fur and synchronized sad eyes shifting behind you. At home, I unload them into the yard. Buster, Luna, Rocket, Flash, Duchess, Earl, T-Bone, Soup, and somehow Dave Jr. Not my naming choice, but fate has a sense of humor. Barnaby waddles out, sniffs a leg, receives a polite lick. Pack accepted. That night, my house becomes a sea of dog beds and fur. It smells like a dog park detonated indoors. But I'm committed. Tony outdoes himself. When I arrive at his shop, there it is. A 10-foot brushed aluminum spreader bar, central waist harness mount, 10 evenly spaced leash clips. I measure them myself. 5 feet 11 inches, not a millimeter over. If she measures, Tony says, "You're an inch under the limit." Built-in humility. It costs more than the fine, more than the fence I originally wanted. But spite is priceless. I spend 3 days training. At first, the dogs stare at me like I've lost all credibility. But greyhounds are pack animals. Once they start moving together, they synchronize. By day 3, we're basically a dog-powered parade float. I feel mildly unhinged. Saturday, farmer's market. Game day. The streets are packed. I park a few blocks away. Open the van. Out comes the phalanx. Yes, I coined that. 10 leashes fanned out from a central spine like some metallic halo. I strap in, clip them on, line them up. We stretch from curb to curb, a living barricade of muscle and calm. And then we walk. Click-clack, click-clack. Heads turn, phones lift. Is that or those? It looks like a Roman chariot, but with dogs. I'm not here for applause. I'm scanning for neon yellow. There she is, Janice, near a falafel stand, measuring the height of a sandwich board. She sees us. Her jaw drops. I steer the phalanx directly toward her. We temporarily block a city bus. The driver just starts filming and laughing. "Good morning, Janice." She sputters. What? You can't." "I'm walking my dogs." I reply, holding up my laminated ordnance printout. GoPro flashing. All physically tethered. All under 6 feet. All compliant. Her face shifts from red to purple. This is public disruption. "You have too many. Show me the number, Janice." I say loudly enough for the growing crowd. "And the cameras. Show me the rule that limits quantity." "It's unsafe," she shrieks. Buster sits. The entire left flank sits. Soup yawns dramatically. "Dangerous pack. Janice? These are retired athletes. More disciplined than city council." She grabs her radio and calls for police. "Please do," I say. "We'll wait." Buster's not in a hurry. The crowd loves it. Someone tosses Luna a chunk of falafel. Then the blue lights arrive. 2 patrol cars block the intersection I'm already blocking. Officer Miller steps out. He's maybe 30, but looks permanently exhausted. He surveys the scene. Me, the phalanx, 10 greyhounds. Janice vibrating with rage. "All right," Miller says. "Who's bleeding?" "Just my sanity, officer." Janice explodes. "Arrest him. He's inciting chaos, blocking traffic, endangering the public." "They're greyhounds," I say calmly. Earl's afraid of thunder. Miller approaches cautiously. T-Bone sniffs his holster. "Sir," Miller says, "what's going on?" I receive the citation. I'm ensuring full compliance. "You're blocking traffic. We're a pedestrian group, moving legally, just broadly." Janice lunges for her last card. "Those leashes are over 6 feet. Measure them." The crowd tightens in anticipation, and like a mythic creature summoned by spite, Tony steps forward. Tool belt, DeWalt tape measure. Independent contractor, he announces, official measurement. He checks each leash. 1 by 1. 5 foot 11. 5 foot 11. 1/4 inch tolerance for humidity. All legal. Janice looks apoplectic. He's mocking the system. Miller shrugs. Is he breaking a written law? Silence. "No." "Then move along," Miller says to me. "Maybe next time try single file." Formation isn't specified, officer, but I'll consider it. He turns to Janice. Stop citing people for gardening. I've got actual crimes. The crowd erupts. Let the dogs walk. I give the command. Mush! And we move. Traffic slowly resumes behind us. Janice stands stranded on the corner, clutching her tape measure and a wounded ego. By evening, the internet explodes. Videos, memes, Greyhound General, trending locally, but bureaucracy never sleeps. Monday, I receive a letter. Emergency council session regarding ordinance clarification. Attendance mandatory. I show up in a suit. Bring Tony. Bring blueprints. Bring receipts. The room is packed. The mayor looks like a loaf of bread, wearing a tie. Janice sulks in the corner. They grill me. You cause gridlock. I followed the law. They propose limiting dogs per handler to 3. It'll take a month to pass. I have time, I say pleasantly. The dogs need exercise. We could try Main Street tomorrow. The mayor visibly pales. What do you want? I lay it out clearly. Drop the fine. Refund my money. Cover Home Depot costs. Approve my fence permit and setback variance. No review board. They fold. The mayor signs. Just please don't walk 10 dogs at once again. Unless I adopt a cat, I say. 3 months later, the fence is up. 6 feet of cedar built by Tony. Smells incredible. The ordinance is amended. They call it the Miller Rule now. 3 dogs per person. But I kept the pack. Couldn't send them back. The house is chaos. Vacuum surrendered weeks ago. But it's home. Some Sundays. I go into the garage and look at that old aluminum spreader bar. Scratched. Dented. Compliant per Ordinance 42B. Etched proudly down the center. Sometimes you don't fight the law. You follow it so precisely it fractures under its own weight. Somewhere out there, Janice is measuring someone's hedge. And I like to imagine that every time she pulls out her tape measure, she hesitates just a second. So tell me, where's the line? When does following the rules become the most effective way to challenge them? Ever been on either side of something like that? Pushing back, or getting pushed too far? I'd love to hear your story. Drop it below. What would you have done if you were in my place?